Charlie Rose Show, May 30th, 2003, the sensible Thomas Friedman.
And what we needed to do was go over to that part of the world, I'm afraid, and burst that bubble. We needed to go over there, basically, and take out a very big stick, right in the heart of that world, and burst that bubble. And there was only one way to do it, because part of that bubble said, we've got you. This bubble is actually going to level the balance of power between us and you, because we don't care about life. We're ready to sacrifice, and all you care about are your stock options and your Hummers. And what they needed to see was American boys and girls going house to house, from Basra to Baghdad, and basically saying, which part of this sentence don't you understand? You don't think, we care about our open society? You think this bubble fantasy, we're just going to let it grow? Well, suck on this, okay? That, Charlie, was what this war was about. We could have hit Saudi Arabia. It was part of that bubble. Could have hit Pakistan. We hit Iraq because we could.
The very sensible Thomas Friedman explaining that there was a terrorism bubble or a asymmetrical warfare bubble that we needed to pop by having our soldiers tell the Iraqis, suck on this. Atrios, comment, please. I mean, I know you have in the past, but, I mean, just explain how insane this is. And, of course, now Thomas Friedman seems to have come full circle this week, but talk about that.
Well, I mean, the case he's laying out, I mean, first of all, we must remember that Thomas Friedman is America's most respected foreign policy columnist, so we should just keep that in mind. The case he's laying out is essentially we needed to topple an Arab state because to frighten non-state terrorists into submission. I mean, this is essentially the argument he's making. We needed to go, basically go invade a country, topple their regime, and run around the country telling their people to suck on this, and to do so that there would be no more terrorism. And this is the grand theory behind the Iraq War, according to Thomas Friedman. Now, there are about 700 other grand theories about the Iraq War. No one really knows why we're there, actually, but that was Tom Friedman's, and this was basically the viewpoint he was putting on the pages of the New York Times twice a week in the run-up to the Iraq War. So this is the kind of sophistication that our media provides us, and this is the result that we get, the catastrophe in Iraq. But apparently, Tom Friedman today wrote a column where he said that 9/11 has made us stupid, and he apparently includes himself in that. So maybe he's looked back on his suck on this moment on Charlie Rose and had some regrets. And,
he also, on Colbert on Monday, said that he's no longer going to issue FUs. That's the Friedman unit, the 6-month unit of time where everything in Iraq is going to be determined. Christy, do you think that, from your perspective, and Matthew, I want to ask you this question too, since you are in the bubble, as it were. Do you think that Thomas Friedman is actually? It's very possible that when Atrios posts this segment from Charlie Rose, that Friedman is aware of it. I mean, we know that the Charlie Rose Show tried to pull the clip.
Well, I'm sure that he is aware of it. I mean, how can you not be aware that you've become the mocked FU of the liberal blogosphere, for what you said? I mean, how can he not know? I know that, there are reporters at the New York Times who read Duncan's site, who read our site, who read Matt Iglesias' work in The Atlantic, because I've talked with them about it. So, I know that there are reporters who do. How could they not tease him about this? I mean, honestly, how could you not tease him about that if you saw him every day?
I have no idea. Matthew, is it your sense that the work that people like yourself and Atrios and Christy Harden-Smith and the left blogosphere is at the very least somehow piercing? I mean, God knows what they would be saying now if there wasn't somebody who was correcting them, at least to a small portion of the society.
Oh, sure. People know about that kind of thing. If anything, though, from where I sit, the problem in the bubble is almost the reverse. People tend to forget exactly how influential Tom Friedman is. I think most of the people in the business, think, yeah, you can tell. You read his columns; they're a little shallow. They're weird. They're all based around these bizarre puns, and so on and so forth. And people will laugh and snicker at that. And what they forget is that there's people all around the country who are saying to themselves, "Well, look, if the New York Times has hired this person to be the foreign affairs columnist for their op-ed page, it must be because he is really smart and really knowledgeable, and we should really take his ideas seriously." And, in fact, I think his ideas were taken seriously by huge numbers of people and continue to be. He's one of the most influential people in the media, and people sometimes forget that. They just think of him as the guy who, he goes on Charlie Rose and says something like that, and then the day after will write a column saying, well, this is about freedom and democracy and whatever. He can't even make up his mind. But he's actually a hugely influential person in a way that's totally undeserved and to some extent unrecognized.
Yeah, I agree with you absolutely on that. It's interesting to know to know that maybe those in Washington and in those circles don't realize just how much influence they have with people who don't pay that much attention. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone home for the holidays and heard every member of my family said, well, Tom Friedman or Maureen Dowd said that Al Gore was feminine or Lord knows what, just insanity that they're absorbing from these people.